Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and just want to give a quick update before we get into today's topic. We are just 469 subs away from 42,069, and it'd be awfully nice if you hit that sub button. If you feel like I've earned your subscription, we'll do a full-on douchebag Zeddy stream on Twitch and video on YouTube. It should be a lot of fun. Today I wanted to do a classic old Zeddy rant or discussion of a certain mechanic. I think the last time I really remember going this in depth about or being mad about certain things, like oh my god, we made a video about that, how it was just driving me crazy, and I'm getting to the point where the freeze mechanic in Hearthstone is just kind of driving me up the wall. Every format is kind of plagued by this, and it's kind of a recent thing. And what am I talking about? What's the freeze mechanic? Zeddy, I don't play Hearthstone that much. I don't know what freeze is. Well, it's when you freeze an enemy or you freeze a minion. And like this mage spell, 0 mana, you freeze something, right? Whatever, not that big a deal. But throughout the history of Hearthstone, it has been something that players just haven't liked. There's been, I remember, I mean, it goes back literally to the beginning of Hearthstone. When you look at classic mage cards like Frost Nova, like a Blizzard, these type of cards just drove people crazy where they couldn't play their minions. Their opponent wouldn't, be able to kill them and all of that. And it was even worse in a lot of ways back in the old days when you coupled it with a card like Ice Block, where not only would they freeze you if you happen to get that chance of hitting them, you couldn't get through the Ice Block. And this frustrated a lot of players, and Freeze Mage was hated for a very long time, to the point where with the latest standard rotation, Frost Nova was taken out of the core set. Blizzard, the name is literally the game's company, or Microsoft now, I'm not sure, but regardless, we're taken out of the core set so that no mass freezes were in standard, and I thought that was a healthy thing. For me, freeze as a mechanic is acceptable. I don't think it should be banished from the game or anything like that, but I think freeze is at its healthiest, at its best. It's more of a single target type of concept. Like, as frustrating as a card like Ray of Frost was last standard cycle, it still wasn't a card that I saw people lose their minds over. And you look at freeze cards throughout most of Hearthstone, it's typically single target. Even recently, Amplified Snow Flurry freezes only one thing, a Frostbolt, way back in the day. You have Cone of Cold, which can freeze 3 things. But overall, if you look through the collection, it's typically rarely a mass freeze effect, because that is such a, well, overall, a really frustrating experience. And a lot of the meta freeze cards like Frozen Shadow Weaver and Glacial Shard were just good because of battle cries, good with Shadow Step in Rogue or Shudder Walk in Shaman, and cards that have had even, I just think it's actually kind of funny. If you take a look at Popsicooler, this card was released in Fractured in Alterac Valley, the same expansion as the card we'll talk about in a second, that's a mass freeze. It's kind of crazy, but overall they've kind of respected that single target freeze thing. And then this expansion, all of a sudden, not only did they bring freeze back to the game, they brought it in the form of Snowfall Guardian. This is Frost Nova that can kill you. You can repeat multiple times with a Brilliant Macaw. And yes, Mage does have a full board freeze, but it's a legendary minion, and it doesn't become a gigantic thing that can outright murder you, and you can't really repeat it that well unless you have like a Potion of Illusion or something like that. It's just kind of crazy to compare it. And if you're looking at Wild, it gets even worse, where not only is your board frozen constantly, it can happen infinitely. And I am seeing on every single social media platform, in my chat, in other streamers' chats, how sick they are of Snowfall Guardian. This card, and by the way, this originally was 5, it's already been nerfed once to 6, is just one of the most frustrating cards in the game because it doesn't let you play. And Hearthstone, if you haven't been aware, lately is really punishing to play minions in general. It's a punishing game to play minions when you have quests and OTKs, and you have cards like Snowfall that punish you. You fill your board, all of a sudden your opponent plays this, you are locked out of the game. It is an infuriating experience, and it has infested every mode, literally every mode in the game. Standard, you have this in the whole OTK deck, right? They just stall with Snowfall Guardian, slam down their Bolner, they play Light Bloom, and then they play Yashiraj and kill you with corrupt stuff. That is not fun, and it's kind of reminiscent of old Freeze Mage, where they just stall, and then you kill you, and you don't get to play the game, and it's just a frustrating experience. As I mentioned in Wild, they stall, and then they play Shudderwalk, which just locks out the game and effectively kills you. And this doesn't even factor in the sleet breaker factor of when you get a billion wind chills throughout the game as well, and you get that single target removal, which I said is relatively okay, but when you get like 12 of them in one game and they're only 1 mana and they cycle and get you to the other stall, it's again an infuriating experience. So in Wild, you have the Shutterwalk standard, you have Bolner OTK. In Arena, it's really bad when you have a card like Wildpaw Cavern, which also freezes your minions, coupled with the Snowfall Guardian. I'll highlight a tweet here by Judge, one of the best Arena players in the game, how frustrated he is, where it's like he thinks it might be the worst, most polarizing, awful experience in the mode's history. It's that bad. And again, it's even littering Arena, but that's not it. Even in duels, where you have Drekthar and you also have Destructor Fireheart, which also both have access to Snowfall Guardian, continuously spam it. However, I will say in duels, it hasn't been nearly as problematic. Your deck gets way too big. It's really hard to kind of get a bunch of Snowfalls and repeat it and all of that. So in duels of all the modes, it's probably the safest, but I still hear people complain about this in general. And I'll highlight a tweet here by Meaty. His suggestion when he saw the original Snowfall Guardian nerf is he wished they would actually have kept it at 5, however, keep it in 8/8, and then it gets smaller as it freezes more. And I guess it would die if it would freeze 8 minions or something. But for me, I just feel that cards like Snowfall Guardian, Frost Nova are unhealthy for the game. Freezing an entire board state when there is not a lot of flexibility in Hearthstone for how you can combat and get against your opponent. If they lock out the board and your deck is somewhat minion based, you're screwed. It's like it's incentivizing people to play out of hand OTKs so they don't worry about getting Snowfall Guardian. And I feel like there's so many punishments in the game as it stands that Snowfall Guardian should be like a popsicle, where maybe it freezes 2 random minions on both sides, or not in a total catch-all. And it's kind of funny to note that as much as I am mentioning freeze right now, Warrior actually has the same thing. Damage to destroy minion, free as all other minions. It's complete board freeze, yet it sees no meta play. That's because Warrior doesn't have access to these insane late game win conditions. If you're going to give a stall like this where you freeze the other thing, the other option is don't have OTKs accessible. Don't have an insane win condition where your opponent can just annoy you to death with freezing and then win the game, whether it be a Shutterwalk, whether it be a Bolner OTK. However, I will note that this doesn't create a 12-12 that's going to kill you, and you also can't repeat this multiple times to the macaw. So it's a harsh comparison. But at the end of the day, I just feel like Snowfall Guardian, as it stands, is just really unhealthy for the game. And maybe with rotation happening in Standard and Bolner OTK leaving, it won't be as problematic, but right now, I really just think it's a toxic experience, and I don't think the players, for the most part, enjoy it. I don't even enjoy playing the card. I've enjoyed playing it. Like, I've tried Shutterwalk Shaman, and I don't know, I find the freeze package just to be kind of dull and like, yeah, just freeze over and over, and it's just, I don't know. I find it toxic, I find it unfrustrating, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the freeze mechanic, about Snowfall Guardian, and if you love it, that's great too, and all that stuff. I'd love to hear the other side if you want to share that, but I thought I'd vent for you guys since a lot of people seem to be bitching about the Snowfall Guardian so much that I tweeted that this card could just, just F this card. But I don't want to get demonetized, so I'll leave it for the thumbnail. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.